The Chicago Bulls are heading into one of their most difficult stretches of the young season, well, the midway part of the season, where they're going to be playing 4 games in 6 nights. We're going to talk about it all and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central, Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Let's go ahead and get into it. So the Bulls lost last night to the Los Angeles Lakers. It sucked. The effort was not there and what we've come to expect from the Bulls over this recent winning that they've been doing, but sometimes you need a wake-up call. You need a punch in the face to wake you. You're not going to win them all, right? And Pat covered that game very, in detail. Not going to add much there. But this Bulls are, with the Miami Heat game being rescheduled, the Bulls go into a very interesting stretch of their schedule, right? Because now they have 4 games in 6 nights. 5 games in 7 nights if you count last night's game as well. But they have a back-to-back Wednesday and Thursday against Indiana, Miami, and then a back-to-back against Miami, again, Saturday and Sunday, both games are in Miami. This is a really important stretch here for the Bulls, right? Because after this stretch, they, going into next week, they have Milwaukee, Toronto, Denver, and Brooklyn. So when we said that the Bulls have one of the toughest remaining schedules in the league, it's stuff like this. Not only how much they're going to be out on the road, but also the caliber of teams that they're going to face. And we know the Miami Heat have had our number for years. They've had our number every time we face off against them. Eric Spoelstra absolutely cooks Billy Donovan in adjustments and everything else. That's the reality of it. When you look at the Bulls that have a combined, their opponents have a combined winning percentage left of 51%. Every single win matters. Every single win matters. And especially in the Eastern Conference as well, right? The Eastern Conference this season is extremely tight. It's a tight Eastern Conference run. The Bulls right now are 9th in the Eastern Conference. Oh, hello, 9th, my old friend. We've been here far too long. But they're a half a game back of the Orlando Magic. Actually, if the Bulls would have won last night, they actually would have leapfrogged the Orlando Magic and been in the 8th seed. But they're also only 1.5 games back of the 6th seed. And while the teams above the Bulls are the Magic, the Heat, and the Philadelphia 76ers, those teams have been there before. The 76ers are even getting good games from Joel Embiid. They have an MVP candidate in Tyrese Maxey on that team. This Bulls team is right there with those guys. Right there. But it gets back to disappointing losses like you see, right? And like when you see the Bulls that face off, against the Pacers, Bulls fans aren't necessarily confident that they're going to beat the Pacers team that already has beat the Chicago Bulls twice, if I'm not mistaken, right? So when you talk about, right, and I've said this a lot when it comes to AK and Eversley and how they run this team, is that when you ask for patience, you have to show what we're being patient for. You can't ask for patience from a fan base, and we have a losing record against below 500 teams. Now, the Bulls are right now 500 against below 500 teams, but at the same time, we can't do that. We have an above 500 record against winning teams, which is good. But the level of play for the Bulls is not sustained. You can't keep asking for patience and not give a proof of concept. And that's what this has to be. Now, we can talk about the trade deadline all day long, right? We'll talk about the Bulls being active in trade talks. The rumors are there. But I tell you what, I still don't see a huge move getting made. And we'll talk about the whys of that. But regardless of any of that, the Bulls in this difficult stretch, let's just focus on the court for right now. When you look at losses like last night, and you look at the self-inflicted wounds that the Chicago Bulls put upon themselves with turnovers, that game was marred by turnovers from start to finish. That is what made the difference in that game against the Los Angeles Lakers. But when you have, it's still a lack of faith in coaching. It's a lack of faith in execution. It's a lack of faith in the expectation and standard that the Bulls play with. Because can we say that the Bulls play with a standard? Hell no. You'd be stupid if you think that you can make argument to say that, the Bulls play with a consistent standard of how they want to execute on the court. No, the hell they do not. So that's where we are right now. So we'll see what's going to happen. right? We will see what's going to happen with this Bulls team. But the product on the court has been more fun than not here lately. The Bulls have been playing with some great pace. The offense has been near elite over the last 2 weeks, which is good. But it still goes to that thing. We don't sustain it. We don't sustain it. And you can show all the flashes that you want, but Bulls fans ain't going no more for flashes. They're just not. We're not going to be satisfied by flashes. You have to show something and show that something consistently if you want this fan base to believe you. And the funny thing about all this is Bulls fans are very, very simple people. And I don't mean that derogatorily. I just mean in the sense that if you have a team that's out there competing and fighting, and we see that this team is doing it consistently, we're going to be like, hey, listen, we lost last night, but we fought in that game. Hey, we may have lost 3 games in a row, but hey, we fought every single one of those games. They're going to win the next 3, though. There's not a fan base that is more ready to believe when you show it on the court. The fact that there are so many naysayers for the Chicago Bulls right now is because we don't show it consistently on the court. The reason why you see so much doubt from Bulls fans, even somebody like this, and I'm not using Mike as a bad example here right now. When you see fans that say things like this, the Bulls aren't going anywhere. Do you know why Bulls fans believe that and feel that way? Because they ain't seen nothing, right? Like, yeah, Josh Giddey's having a great statistical year. And I think Josh Giddey's ready to get back in the starting lineup. Kobe White is starting to look more and more like the Kobe White of old. Great. I would assume was having a great season off the bench. Modest is taking a small step forward, but it's a step forward nonetheless, right? There are some things you can point to with this team. But when you watch the product on the basketball court, this team, it's so disappointing. That baby Bulls team, before Derrick Rose even got here, the Luol Deng, Kirk Heinrich, Ben Gordon Bulls, with Ben Wallace was on it for 1 year, right? When you saw that team, like that team was a team that was scrappy. Scott Skiles had that team fighting. There would be times where, yeah, we lose a couple of games, but hey, there'll be at least once every week, there'll be that game where we punched a contender in the face, and we looked at them and say, hey, not here in Chicago. We don't have any of that here now. That has left here. So we got to find a way to get it back. But this stretch over this next 10 games really for the Chicago Bulls is going to be hell. It's going to be absolute hell for the Chicago Bulls. And we got to see how they're going to deal with it. A lot of people are tired of the crap. Bulls going somewhere if they F4 ain't no Russian-ish. Hey, listen, I can't even fight with you on that one. Jeremy says, we better beat Indiana tomorrow. Hey, listen, we better beat Indiana tomorrow. Shane in the building says, as long as Billy Donovan is our head coach, we're going to be stuck in mediocrity. First of all, that's a hell of a word. That's a hell of a way to spell that word, bro. Hell of a way to spell that word. That's crazy, Shay. Like, why do you hate the English language so much, Shay? Why do you and the English language have so much beef? I don't understand. It's the only language you speak. I don't understand why you got so much beef with it. But to get back on track here, man, it's all needs to be left on the court. And the thing that I always say, and that this is my thing in every sport. What's left on the court, what's left on the field is what's left on the court and what's left on the field. That's what's going to tell you, right? That's what's going to tell you. At the end of the day going to end. It's the Bulls are gonna not have dogs on this team. So, we'll see. But one of the biggest things still talked about for this team and that people are still waiting on is what's going to happen. Listen, everybody just keeps repeating, like Derrick Rose saying the Bulls need a superstar has made y'all brains turn off. Yes, every team that wins the title needs a superstar, but you don't just walk into the store and buy a superstar. You don't just, it's not as simple as just going out there and getting a superstar. You have to either develop them and get lucky, or you have to sign one or trade for one. The Bulls probably aren't going to trade for one. Can they sign one? I mean, we'd have to show a lot more, I think, to get one to sign for one. Can they develop one? Can Modest become a star? I don't know, right? I don't know how good Modest is going to cap out at. Josh Giddey is going to put up star-level numbers, but they're still missing some things on this team, right? And how you acquire those things is the thing here. And the Bulls at the trade deadline, I can tell you one thing for certain, the Bulls are not going to be trading for a star at the trade deadline. I can tell you that for sure, but they are going to be looking to make some moves, reportedly. Mark Stein has talked about the Chicago Bulls and how aggressive they are expected to be in trade talks. We're going to talk about that right after this. But before we talk about that, I got to talk to you guys about a message from one of our sponsors, and that is Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. I love how simple Quo makes everything. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal. It works right from your phone or computer, and you can even keep your existing number. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps so details never slip through the cracks. And it's no surprise that Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses. From solo operators to growing teams, make this year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedon. That's QUO.com/lockedonnba. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. All right, Bulls fans. So with that said, let's talk about the Bulls being active in trade talks, right? We've heard a lot of stuff over the last few weeks in regards to the Chicago Bulls. You know, Minnesota Timberwolves reportedly want to get Kobe White for Terrence Shannon Jr., Mike Conley, and a bunch of second-round picks. Terrible value, no deal. The Los Angeles Clippers also want to get Kobe White. I believe it was for Chris Paul, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and a few second-round picks as well. Not great value. I would assume it reportedly has value out on the trade market, but I think that the Bulls are more focused on keeping Io than trading Io right now. That's just the personal feeling that I get on that from the team. Nikola Vucevic, no trade market for Vooch. Nobody wants his old, but then that leaves you Trey Jones, Jalen Smith, who we've heard actually have quite a bit of value around the NBA, right? And this is where it gets to a point where Bulls fans almost become as bad as AK, in the sense that when you hear Bulls fans, it's like, oh my God, we can't trade this player for that guy, or we can't trade Kobe White unless we're getting Naz Reid. And it's like, okay, that's cool. And you're going to get turned down for that. And then you're in the same exact place where you're not making any trades because you're turning down everything, right? So I don't think that the Bulls should just sell off Kobe for a bunch of second-round picks. And Mike Conley, who is at the tail end of his life, right? And I don't see that being value. Terrence Shannon Jr., yeah, great. He's 5 months younger than Kobe White, and it's not nearly shown that he's going to be a consistent NBA player yet either. It's not there. They don't want to part with Juan Berenger because they see him as their center of the future, rightfully so. Rob Dillingham, I'm good on Rob Dillingham, even smaller than Kobe, more streaky and less upside. I'm good on that. So you sit in this place where, once again, the value that the Bulls have and want for their players does not necessarily match the value that's seen around the league for those players, except for Jalen and Trey Jones. And that's the question that the next question that has to be here for this team, right? I don't know. I don't know what this Bulls team does. I'm not going to lie to you. I have no idea what this team does at the trade deadline. I don't know. Things can go a bunch of different ways for this Bulls team. I can see them making a smaller, mediocre trade, like trading for Yves Missy, who has upside. He's a young center that fits your core. Do they make more of a swing and trade for like a Nick Claxton? Maybe that's there. A Day'Ron Sharpe. Those options are there, right? But, you know, those aren't moves that you look at and you say, hey, those are huge needle movers. But they are moves that do help you. They are moves that bring in something that you're missing to this team. And I think that is the more realistic trade option. I get it. I've talked about it all season long, all offseason. The $89 million in expiring contracts that are out there for the Bulls, right? But as I've said many times before, expiring contracts don't hold the same value that they used to have. And because teams are looking at the second tax apron and if they have to extend players. So that leads to why Trey Jones and Jalen Smith have probably some of the highest trade value on the Chicago Bulls team. Jalen has 1 year left remaining at a little over $9 million. Trey Jones has 2 years remaining at $8 million, with the last year being a team option. Those are the type of contracts that we're seeing have more value around the league more consistently. What do the Bulls do with that? What do they do with that? I don't know. I don't know. But I'm telling y'all right now, you're not going to get back. Like, for anybody hoping for the Bulls to make some huge trade deadline move to get Ja, to get Giannis, to get Zion, it's not happening. Not only have some of those guys no longer been on the market, the Milwaukee Bucks reportedly want Giannis to sit out the rest of the season so they can tank the season, get a top 10 pick to add to that, which isn't a bad value. It's just, is that going to alienate Giannis to where he wants to leave? Anthony Davis was never a good trade option for the Chicago Bulls. The Pelicans reportedly no longer want to move Zion. They're looking to move players like Yves Missi, but they want an unprotected first-round pick back for that. So you're sitting in this place now where the market and what's available on the market and what the Bulls have to offer in trades, it's probably going to lead to where it's not going to have a best. You're probably not going to get a crazy amount of value back. You're just probably not going to. And so that again gets to the patience of Bulls fans, because if you're telling us when you don't make moves, right? When you keep your roster the same, that tells us that you believe something in that roster. And then when the results that belief that you're getting out of the results that you're getting from that belief are mediocre and play-in, how do you expect anybody to have patience? How do you expect anybody to have faith? How do you expect anybody to do any of those things? You don't. It's impossible to do that then. So, I disagree with some Bulls fans. I do think some Bulls fans have ridiculous mindsets in regards to what needs to happen around the league. But I'll say this, the frustration, I can't knock anybody being frustrated with this team, because over the last decade, for the most part, we've just been spinning our tires and staying in place. The flexibility that you have here now, it is a fireable offense if you don't use that flexibility for something. For something. You got to have flexibility means nothing if you don't use it. At that point, it's null and void. So yeah, we got $20 million in trade exceptions. We have $89 million in expiring contracts. We have, a disabled player exception for Noah Essegian, something we haven't even talked about, right? Which probably we won't hear into the buyout market. If players are bought out that the Bulls fit, they'll probably use that disabled player exception there. But this is probably the most asset rich that the Bulls have ever been in my life. The most asset rich that we have ever been. All their first round picks, $89 million in expiring contracts, $112 million in free agent capital next year, $20 million in trade exceptions, a $4 million disabled player exception. Have we heard jack crap about the Bulls actually using that for anything meaningful? I still don't understand why Vooch is in Chicago. We need to protect the rim. You don't understand why? Because he's on a guaranteed contract. You can't just this isn't the NFL. You can't just cut players, right? That's why he's still on this team. Now, do we need a rim protector? Absolutely. It's just not as easy just to walk in a store and grab a rim protector, but that needs to be there's no excuse this offseason for AK not to add rim protection to this team. It's no excuse for that. No excuse. None. But why is it still that I really do feel, and you guys can let me know in the comments, that I really still feel the safest bet is to not expect the Bulls to make a big move at the deadline? Okay, listen, Mike, you got to get off of this, bro. Derek Queen didn't fit this team. He wouldn't be Derek Queen on this team. And you can't call Noah Essegian a bust yet. We haven't seen him. Noah Essegian very well could end up being a better two-way player than Derek Queen. We just haven't seen it yet. He's more raw. Second youngest player in the NBA. So we'll see. I'm not ready to call the Noah Essegian pick the wrong pick yet, but they got to develop him. He has to get on the court next year. This can't be another situation where we're 2 years in and we're still like, damn, he played 17 games this season. We can't say that yet. We can't see that again. So I'm not on the Noah Essegian being a miss yet or an L yet. But they got to prove that it's not. They got to prove that it isn't. The more and more I'll sit back and think about, I don't mind trading away that Portland pick, especially knowing that it's not necessarily going to be a top pick. I mean, the Portland pick is lottery protected, which means that the highest it can be is 15th. That's the highest that pick can be. But it can be any. If I'm not mistaken, if the Portland Trailblazers made the playoffs, I think right now that pick is slated to be around 17th or 18th is where that pick is. So Lakers offer Golden State Gabe Vincent another expiring contract and 2030 second-round pick for Kuminga. They turned down. The Bulls need to buy low and talent that we need another power forward to roll. We don't need Jonathan Kuminga. Jonathan Kuminga doesn't fit this team either. Again, that's where not making a trade just to make a trade comes in at. But we're going to continue the conversation. We're going to talk about the expectations for the Bulls the rest of the way, if you can have any expectations for this team. We'll talk about that right after this. But first, we do got to get into a message from one of our sponsors, and that is TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. And if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. All right. So I want to finish this by talking about the expectations for the Chicago Bulls the rest of the way, right? What are the expectations for this team? And many people like me are going to say it's hard to have any expectations for this team, but I'm going to set it, right? And what I'm going to set this by is AK. AK asked for patience. AK said that they're progressing towards something. AK also said that give you patience to the summer of 2026. The bill is coming due, AK, and it's time to deliver. So this is the expectation that I'm holding for this Bulls team the rest of the way. This Bulls team has to finish one game above 500. I need to see the Bulls finish with 42 wins. I'm gonna leave it at that. I need to see this Bull team finish with 42, and that is the lowest of low of expectations. But I need to see 42 wins for the Chicago Bulls team. If you can get 42 wins, and you can tell me, all right, bet. Hey, we maybe we're in the play-in again, but hey, we're above 500 for the first time. With 36 games left, we're above 500. Okay, cool. We're 23 wins right now. 23 wins right now. I need 19 more of them. If you can win 19 out of 36 games, that's my that is the lowest of low of expectations. Finish with 42 wins. 42 wins. That's what I need from you right now. 42 wins. That's it. I'm not having a conversation about it. If the Bulls finish below 42 wins, it's a failure of a season. An absolute failure of a season. Because unless something changes, you felt like you didn't have to make a move. You ran the same team back. You didn't trade anybody. So that tells me that this team we won 39 games last year. I need 42 wins this season. And that's, like I said, that's a minimum. That is the lowest of lows when it comes to expectations. And you're still not doing nothing there. 42 wins. That's it. 42 wins. And if you're in the play-in, I need you to actually win the play-in tournament. That's what I need to happen. 42 wins and a playoff appearance. That is the minimum of what the expectation is for the Chicago Bulls. 42 wins and a playoff appearance. If you don't get 42 wins and a playoff appearance, the season was a failure. An absolute, utter failure in every stretch of the imagination. Because you're probably not going to make a big trade, right? Injuries all up and down the court. You're not firing Billy Donovan, so I need to see progress. 42 wins and a playoff appearance. If this team does not get 42 wins and a playoff appearance, you're trash. That's it. 42 wins. And where were 42 wins last season that put those Chicago Bulls? I just want to look at the 42 wins would have put the Chicago Bulls as the 7th seed. So still would have been in the play-in. But it would have made the Bulls the 7th seed. 42 wins. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the same this year. 42 wins and a playoff appearance. Anything less than that ain't getting it done. That's just my personal opinion. But I want to hear from you guys on this one. What are your expectations for the rest of the way? What is something that you need to see from this Bulls team to make you feel like actual progress has been made? 42 wins in a playoff appearance. That's mine. I want to hear from you guys, whether you're watching this live or after the fact. I want to hear from you guys on that one. What do you personally need and want to see from this Chicago Bulls team to tell you that this season was not an outright failure? Let me know that down below. But that's going to be my time for today. You guys can follow us at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me at CEO Haize. Locked On Bulls is free and available in every podcast app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube, the Odyssey app, Amazon Fire TV, Roku TV, and Fubo TV. Basically, anywhere you want us, you can get it. We'll catch you guys bright and early tomorrow morning, y'all. Peace.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago